Hi, friends. This is Ryan from renewedhealth.com. Hope you are doing well. And I want to say thanks so much for tuning in as always. It's great to see each of you out there. So, I want to talk today about really I'm titling this Radical Realization Overcoming Modern Limitations. And I listened to a great podcast the other day with Ari Whitten and the CEO of a company called the DNA Company, a guy named Kashif Khan. And they brought up a number of points in this that I think is just kind of good to maybe just bring to my audience as well and kind of talk with you about that and expound on a few of these things well. But the reality is that right now, roughly around 80% of diseases in the modern world are lifestyle and behavioral driven diseases. And if you think about that, it kind of makes sense. You know, people in the modern day have excess of situations, and we also have challenges. We have realities in the world of living in anything but a natural world per se. So we live in a synthetic reality, from the clothing that we wear to the environment that we're in. Everything is largely manufactured. Okay, and that brings with it some inherent benefits, and it also brings with it some realities and some challenges as well. So sometimes you hear folks that say, you know what, I just have bad DNA. I've got bad genes. The reality is that you don't. Your ancestors have lived for thousands and thousands of years before. Now, maybe your DNA isn't as great as my DNA, or as your spouse's DNA, or your best friend's DNA, or whatever the case may be. That might be true. But you're a strong person. You intrinsically made it through all these years to get to today, where you are the sum of all your ancestors prior to that. Okay? And I want you to think about this a little bit. You're not just your grandparents. You're not just your parents. Your lineage goes way, way, way beyond that. Okay? And I also want you to think about the fact that 150 to 200 years ago, obesity wasn't a challenge. It wasn't. There weren't morbidly obese people all around the country. That just wasn't the reality of kind of where we were. And now it is. Now we have a situation where we have a chronic obesity and overweight problem, certainly here in the United States. Now, if you think about that, one of the challenges is that fat tissues hold toxins. Okay? They just accumulate toxins. And so if you don't have effective detoxification methods to rid the body of toxins over the years, they all get stored in your body in those fat cells. Not all of them, but a large portion of them do. For women, it's a large area of the body. The breast continue to accumulate more and more toxins, and they become more toxic. And there's a certain breaking threshold point where any toxin becomes a challenge, a health burden on the body, and ultimately can create things like precancerous and cancerous type of cells. Less than ideal. All right, so if you think about things that are really messed up, our food supply is messed up. Our environment is messed up. When I say food supply is messed up, think about like food that we eat today is nothing even in comparison to what real food that your ancestors for thousands of years ate. Okay? We also don't have times of feast and famine. We have times of constant plenty. Okay? So if you think about that, you're hungry, what do? Now you're door dashing your food. And where is it coming from? It's coming from a junk food kitchen. And what is it produced with? It's produced with junk food ingredients. And where are those junk food ingredients grown? They're grown on pesticide-sprayed fields. And they're transported they're processed in ways that would damage the nutrients in those and fill them with other types of challenges like brominated oils and corn syrup this and hydrogenated this, etc. So the reality is that our food supply is very challenged. The issue is that your environment is challenged. Right now, the only way you can see me is I'm using significant artificial lighting in here that is nowhere close to biologically ideal optimum light to have a sustainable, healthy, biological human being, which again is another challenge. The clothing that you're wearing, synthetic. It's microplastics. You're constantly breathing these things. And if you're using, like any modern person does, you're putting your clothes in the laundry machine and you're using synthetic chemicals and detergents that aren't fully washing out of your clothes to get on you where you're now breathing those. Maybe you're even adorning yourself with cosmetics, personal care products. Maybe you've got fragrances in your shampoo and you've got things of that sort that you're constantly breathing in. You don't have the ions and the natural quality of the air from outdoor wooded forest in a clean, pristine environment. Instead, you've got an HVAC system that's now pumping your air into the environment that you're breathing. You know, the reality is that your world has become trash. And I don't mean that to pick on you. My world has become trash as well. All right. So we start thinking about this. All these things that are working constantly against you. They're things that your ancestors never had to deal with. Your ancestors had to worry about, are we going to make it? Are we going to have enough food? Are we going to starve to death? Am I going to get an infection? Am I going to potentially have, I don't know, something that takes me out just unbeknownst to myself because I don't have any kind of modern testing? You've got all those things working in your advantage, okay? And I'm grateful for that. I mean, we live in a modern day right now. We've got great access to emergency acute care, but medicine has done a very poor job of addressing chronic health issues. It has no solutions for chronic health, okay? And you see this. You have a chronic condition, and what happens? You end up in a lifestyle drug for the rest of your life that never really makes it go away. It just makes your symptoms palatable or tolerable. That's inexcusable. And the reality is we keep going back to this molecule-based medicine scenario instead of to the root-based core medicine reality. And that becomes, again, another liability. It is a false hope to expect that, you know, that this perfect molecule is going to go and fix your issue. All right, so radical measures. How do you help to work in radically against the reality? And I'll just say this. You need to come to terms in your mind where you realize that we have a radically divergent world that we live in than what we were created and designed to live in. It is not what was intended, but it is the reality of where we are. And that's going to continue to evolve as humanity grows for the next 1,000 years or whatever it may be. We're going to have to adapt. And right now, you're thinking about, how do I adapt to this particular situation that I'm faced with? So you don't wake up at 50 with the cancer. So you don't wake up with, hey, where did this come from? I was healthy one day, and the next thing I knew, I had a stroke, or I had a heart attack, or I had really chronic, whatever the case may be. It's not happening overnight. It's been happening as a net result of accumulation of chronic exposure for year, over decade, until the point where you go from vibrant physical health on the outside to all of a sudden chronic health challenges that become your all-consuming kind of reality of the moment. So, all right, let's turn this into some optimism for you. So, how do you help this? Number one, you need to think about, hey, I need to do everything that I can to possibly clean up my control of environment. I'm not saying become completely OCD about, I've got to do this. I've got to do everything around me and everyone is polluting my world. Yes, you need to look at it and say there are certain things, there are multiple things that are going to dramatically increase your risk factors, but you can do radical things to make yourself resilient. You can make radical things to make yourself strong and vitality that will overcome those circumstances. Okay. All right. So, number one, clean up your environment. Get rid of as much junk as you possibly can. Be careful you're not buying greenwashed products as well. There's a lot of companies that will go out and put a stamp of organic or a stamp of some green whatever on their product, and it's still just as trashy. Okay. So, tend to find, small companies that are making things locally. It's much likely to be a case of offensive chemical whatever if you can find a small brand at some local health food store. Ask friends around, do some due diligence. Get outside of the major supermarkets and get into the world to figure out cleaning products, toothpaste. I primarily use EcoDent. I sometimes use Jason's toothpaste for shampoos and soaps and things of that sort. Find a good one that you can use as well. We use Tracy, what's the name of the company that we use out of San Francisco? That's I'll tell you what. I'll post a link in the site below I'll post the content below with the name of the shampoo that we use there as well. For soaps, everyone knows Bronner soaps. That stuff's great, fantastic. Use that for your cleaning purposes, for your laundry machine. Again, use something that is going to be getting fragrance out. Don't use dryer sheets. Just basic things of that sort. For food, go to Whole Foods. And look, I'm not telling you have to go vegetarian or you got to go paleo or whatever. There's multiple ends of the spectrum that will work based on your biology, but based on your, kind of your constitution as well. But get back to real. Okay, if it's vegetarian, it's not an Impossible Burger. If it's meat and paleo, it's not Oscar Mayer and hot dogs and things of that sort, guys. It's real food. Okay, if it's meat, it's snout to tail. If it's vegetarian, it's lots of different types of vegetables and fruits and whole grains, etc. Figure out how do you get back to real food. Okay, so thinking about lighting, get outside. Get some full body exposure of your skin and the sunlight on a regular basis. Take some of your lights and get rid of some of those LEDs and go to full spectrum lighting as much as you possibly can. The other things too is figure out how do you get some of these toxins out of your body. If you're not thinking on occasion of how do I detox some of these chemicals that are going to bioaccumulate, then you need to. Okay, I'm just going to call it what it is. So this is just a handful of things that I've got here. So zeolite to really capture kind of heavy metals and toxins and things of that sort. We've got cell protector here, which has a number of sulforaphanes and enzymatic factors and things of that sort. So speaking of enzymes, systematic enzymes as well. Herbs like reishi, which are double directional phase 2 and phase 1 and phase 2 detoxifiers. Parasite cleanses, black cumin seed oil, curcumin. Guys, there's lots of compounds. And you might need to really play with, hey, I'm going to do some detoxes. I'm going to think about intentional. How do I break up? How do I create lipolysis to get some of these toxins like broken out of those fat cells and they get into the bloodstream? I'll tell you, if you go and drop 30 pounds, you're probably going to feel pretty yucky there for a while because that's going to release a lot of toxins into your bloodstream. And so you may need to think about, hey, if I'm going to go on this health kick or this weight loss program or whatever, how am I going to, again, not recirculate those toxins, but get them out? Okay, so liquids. Find get the purest water that you can possibly get. Go back to the fundamentals. Think about it. Like there's nothing more important than the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you consume, the relationships that you have. Now let's talk about that. So relationships, look, we are communal beings. We were not designed to be hermits at the end of the day. We are, you look at certain animals. I think about an ant farm. Ants don't live by themselves. They live in community. Bees don't live by themselves. Bees live in community. People weren't designed to live by themselves. They're designed to be in community as well. Figure out how do I foster healthy interpersonal relationships with the people around you. And I'm not saying everyone's got to be a strong extrovert, but figure out how do I engage. How do you engage your spirit with your divine creator? Okay? Figure out ways to worship which your heart was intended to worship, designed to worship, not false idols, not this or that or this or this, or even yourself. It was designed to worship the creator. Figure out how do you get in communion with your God at the end of the day. Okay? Think about the media that's going into you. Again, we're talking about junk. The media right now is junk. Media has been junk really since the advent of marketing, way back to the very core. Hey, I'm going to sell you a product that you don't really need. But media, can be uplifting music. Media can be an inspirational movie. Media can be something that brings glory to not only your creator, but also to your soul. It brings happiness and excitement, I should say, rather than glory. Think about the arts. Think about beautiful tunes, things of that sort. Fill your life with beauty. Okay? And take time to appreciate what is nature around you. Okay? Not the synthetic, artificial, pre-contrived, but the reality of the natural created world. Take that in and appreciate it and value it. And don't let it make you despondent when you go and spend a week in New York going to visit your friends, or you live in New York right now. Look, go to Central Park. Go down to the waterfront. Figure out how do you create that sensory of your eyes that your eyes need to see that creation around you. Okay, so as I'm thinking about fundamentals and the fundamentals, think about every area that fundamentally needs to be optimized, from water to relationships to your heart to the environment around you, to the food that you're consuming, to the friendships that you're making. Try to take the toxins out, but recognize you can't take everyone out. You can't take the people that are maybe less than desirable all out of your reality. I'm not encouraging you to like hide yourself from suffering. I'm not encouraging you to hide yourself and cast judgment on those around you eating a snow cone at the waterfront when you go down there in New York City. I'm not encouraging you to do any of that. I'm encouraging you to think about how do I foster a reality of vibrancy for myself. Okay. So if you need some help in thinking about tools, maybe it's, I really do want to go through some powerful detoxification for myself. I really do want to, I want to get a sauna, and I really want to use a sauna to really help drive. I want to get an exercise program, and I want to use that to drive. I want to get, some supplements to help drive. I want to get, whatever the case may be, drive these things intentionally into your lifestyles, not to where it becomes a burden, but where it becomes a reality where you look at it and say, I am being empowered and I'm helping to create vibrancy. See, it's the Pied Piper kind of scenario. You either pay now or you pay later kind of situation. And I'd rather all of you that are out there listening to this content, that you can really look at it later in life and say, you know what? The quality of kind of what I got to experience in the time frame, that lifespan, that health span as they call it, not just lifespan. Lifespan is how many years you live. The health span is how many of those years do you live in the way that you would really like to live, feeling good, without ailments, without chronic disease, with all those things being a present reality in the forefront of your mind. I want you to be able to give back and live the life to the fullest for your loved ones around you, to those people that you will encounter. And I hope that this is somewhat inspirational for you. So folks, thank you so much. We really always appreciate each and every one of your likes on the video content. Feel free to share this as well. Feel free to call if you need anything, and certainly you can use our discount codes for helping you maybe make one step along the way. If you ever need questions or opinions on things that might be helpful for you, you know where to find us, and we can't thank you enough. Go and have a fantastic week. Thank you all.